Hello there and welcome back to another Cloud with Chris weekly vlog. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and here we talk about all things cloud. So thank you for joining this evening. We are doing this one live once again. I think this is becoming a little bit of a theme with these weekly vlogs, getting and doing these live, because it just feels a bit more natural, just talking about what's been going on over the week and making a bit interactive for anyone who decides to join in the live chat as well. So thank you for joining. This is weekly vlog number 19, and you know the deal. We will be jumping into the Azure blog, the Azure updates, the Azure DevOps blog, the GitHub blog, and all things that have been going on the Cloud with Chris front as well. So if you like this content or the wider content that I put together, you know what to do. Please go ahead, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And it really helps me just understand what you like, what you don't like as much, so I can prioritize what content you want. And just on that point, I've been reading some of the comments that have been coming in lately as well, reflecting on those. So I do appreciate the comments, whether they're constructive or whatnot there as well. And yeah, just going to be continuing to monitor all of that. So thank you again for the engagement. So with that, let's go ahead. Let's jump over to the screen share and get going with the updates this week. So here we go. Here is the first update, and quite a big update actually. There is a new icon for Azure. So you'll probably be aware that Microsoft has been embarking upon this fluent design journey, making sure that there's this consistent design language across the various Microsoft platforms. Mainly in Windows 10 it started, but now you can see that is blurring across into Azure as well here with this new Azure logo, and I think it looks brilliant. I've seen a lot of people sharing it on social media. I've seen a lot of interest and intrigue, and to be quite honest, excitement and you know, just people really enjoying the new icon that's coming out. So it's great to see that. So yeah, that is the new icon. Let me know what you think in the chat, or let me know on Twitter as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about that. And that is the Azure blogs this week. There was only the one blog, which makes it nice and simple there. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump across to the Azure updates round. So, several updates this week, so we'll run through them in rapid fire as we usually do. First off, Azure Security Center public preview updates for April 2021. There has been a roundup post of that, which we'll take a look at in a sec. And the same for the generally available updates in April 2021 as well. We'll take a look through both of those. There is a public preview for AKS support for Secret Store Container Storage Interface. I am a big fan of that particular announcement. So the Secret Store Container Storage Interface, or CSI driver as it's sometimes known, is not new. That's something that Microsoft have built for a while for the open source community. But what is new is the fact that there is now an add-on, and you're seeing this a lot in the AKS space, that these add-ons for the open source components are coming in. Think of things like App Gateway Ingress Controller, Pod Identity, all of these kind of things. This is the latest flavor, and the support for the Secret Store's container storage interface there. So really exciting update there. So anyone in the AKS space, that is definitely one to watch. There is a new NPv1 virtual machine type now generally available, and that gives the power of FPGAs. So if you're running some kind of machine learning workload, probably one to keep an eye on there. Azure Data Share Preview API versions will no longer be supported starting August 1st, 2021. So if you are on one of the ARM Preview APIs, go and make sure you are updated on the latest APIs, because you might find your templates or however you're deploying might stop working after the August 1st, depending on what that means there in terms of no longer supported. So of course, you know, they've given that notice. You want to make sure you're on the latest and greatest, so do go and review that. There have been a number of UI updates for log analytics. Next up then, Azure Backup. Operational backup for Azure Blobs is now generally available. So a managed data protection solution for your block blobs. Really interesting update there. That was one I was pleased to see come out this week. General availability of the custom translator. New features, improvements and bug fixes roundup for May. General availability, multiple features for Azure VPN Gateway. And again, we'll dive into that one in a moment. Append blob support in Azure Data Lake Storage is now generally available. You can prevent shared key authorization for an Azure storage account, and that is now available, it says, although the target availability says Q2 21 there, so we'll take a look at that. And then ABAC, so attribute-based access control for Azure Storage, is now in preview as well. So that is in Azure Storage for blobs and ADLS Gen 2. And you do that by defining conditions on role assignments based on resource and request attributes. So rather than being assignment-based, it's more attribute-based. So different way of thinking about the access control methodology there. So the public preview pieces for Azure Security Center that we mentioned, a refreshed resource health page. You can use Azure Defender for Kubernetes to protect hybrid and multi-cloud Kubernetes deployments. That's an interesting update there again for any of you cloud native folks listening in. Recommendations to enable Azure Defender for DNS and Resource Manager, and 4 new recommendations related to guest configuration. GA updates for April 2021 include Microsoft Defender for Endpoint integration with Azure Defender now supports Windows Server 2019 and Windows 10 Virtual Desktop. Container registry images that have been recently pulled are now rescanned weekly. 3 regulatory compliance standards added: Azure CIS 1.3.0, CMMC Level 3, and New Zealand ISM restricted. Customer managed key recommendations move to best practices security control. 11 Azure Defender alerts deprecated. 2 recommendations from Apply System Update Security Control were deprecated. Azure Defender for SQL on Machine Tile removed for Azure Defender Dashboard. And 21 recommendations moved between security controls. So there's been a lot of movement there in terms of the Azure Security Center space. In terms of those Azure VPN gateway features that we mentioned there, multiple authentication types for point-to-site VPN. You can now enable multiple authentication types on a single gateway for open VPN tunnel type. Azure AD, certificate-based, and Radius can all now be enabled on a single gateway. BGP diagnostics, you can see the border gateway protocol session status, route advertised, and routes learned by the VPN gateway. VPN packet capture in Azure Portal, you can now support packet capture on the VPN gateway. That is now available on the Azure Portal. And finally, VPN connection management. With the new enhancements in VPN connection management capabilities, you can now reset an individual connection instead of resetting the whole gateway. You can also set the Internet Key Exchange IKE mode of the gateway to responder only, initiator only, or both, and view the security association of a connection. And then finally, we mentioned about the shared key authorization and being able to prevent that. It says they're announcing the general availability of the ability to disable the shared key authorization for Azure Storage. Before you disable shared key authorization on existing storage accounts, we suggest checking existing access patterns via monitoring. So, there is a way to inspect how people are going to be accessing your storage already there. So, worth just doing that upfront investigation before you go ahead and turn that off. So now on to the Azure DevOps blog. So first off, the interesting update I saw come out this week was IPv6 fencing conditional access policies are now supported. Previously IPv4 fencing policies were supported, but now IPv6 are supported. So there we go. That is potentially of interest for any of you folks who are leveraging IPv6 there. Next up, we've mentioned a few times about this series about on-prem to the cloud with Damien Brady. This time, with Jay Gordon and Damien Brady. Damien Brady is the guest in this particular one and talking about migrating to Azure Sql. So again, a lot of people think about platform as a service as things like app service, for example, in the app platform, but platform as a service is absolutely wider than just applications. Think about your data platform as well and how you can go and modernize that and remove some of that management effort that you might need to go and take for your estate if you're still running on virtual machines. So that is a post which is probably relevant for you if you're interested by what I just said there. Next up, there was another post here all about the intro of the DevOps Dojo, talking about DevOps in services, DevOps and Microsoft services, and then talking about what the DevOps Dojo is and why you should be interested in it. So again, just worth understanding some of the concepts here, what they're looking to achieve through this effectively this kind of experience of scaling up across these key principal areas of DevOps. So again, there's a few videos on here. They talk about their journey, and they talk about how to go ahead and get into some of these pieces with the dojo here. So go ahead and read into that, and I'm sure there'll be more to follow on the dojo pieces there as well. And then finally, updates from the Microsoft Devops community. First off, a post about Azure Reports, exporting Azure resources with PowerShell and Azure CLI. Just roll up your backlogs. Gives his thoughts there, Matteo, based upon structuring Azure DevOps organizations and projects. A topic I see come up time and time again, so I'm sure that is an interesting blog post to read through there. Publishing NuGet packages to a private Azure artifact feed with YAML build files. Store DBA tool PowerShell module as a package in Azure DevOps. Azure pipelines diagrams as code. And Postman API with Newman in Azure DevOps. And finally, on the GitHub blog side of things, there is an engineering post here all about how Github use web components at GitHub. So again, if you're interested in kind of the, I guess the UI development and the engineering side of things there, they talk about how they've gone ahead and built their web components and some of the open source components that they use there and how they kind of design their requirements around those. In terms of the availability report for April, there are a couple of updates. This time, one was a failure in their DNS resolution, which resulted in a degraded state for availability of GitHub packages, container registry service. They go and explain a little bit there and what the next step is in terms of fixing that and remediating that. And then another one in terms of an elevated error rate with using API requests, which resulted in degraded state of availability for repository creation. So again, they talk about the next steps there, working with their vendor to upgrade their data migration tool and their migration processes. They're going to be amending those and revising the steps. So again, really great to see these engineering kind of focused posts and how they go ahead, update in terms of the availability, not just what happened, but what is happening as a result of that particular instance and how they're going to be moving forward with that. Another update here is about GitHub Enterprise Server. We recently updated that 3.0 was released, and that brought things like GitHub Actions, GitHub Packages, and GitHub Advanced Security to GitHub Enterprise Server. Well, now 3.1 is now available, which includes some further additions there, including things like the visualizations with GitHub Actions, some functionality there with pull request auto merge, and additional security pieces, the mono repo update performance that we mentioned previously as well. So lots of great updates there if you are running GitHub Enterprise Server. And finally, they have their release radar, the April edition here, and there's some great updates here. None of those, would I really go into too much depth here because there's so many. But one that I just want to call out is Paloomi. Really fascinating project. I've been following it for some time, and it's a way that it's really trying to go and make multi-language support for these different cloud frameworks. So think about like Google Cloud, Azure, etc. Being able to make a consistent framework to deploy your infrastructure as code. Really fascinating approach, slightly different to how Terraform are approaching it. So one to keep on your radar if you are interested in the infrastructure as code side of things there. But Puppeteer 9.0, Package 5.0, Argo CD 2.0, Remotion 2.0, Gradle 7.0, CircuitPython 6.2.0, Gitmoji 4.0, Croc 9.0, Spider 5.0 are just some of those that they announce on the GitHub blog post there. So there we go. Now let's go ahead and do the roundup of Cloud with Chris this week. So first off, started off with a blog post on Monday, mainly focused around SEO this week in the blog posts. And the Monday one, I talked about schema.org and how I go and use that to enhance my SEO optimization on Cloud with Chris and influence really what is served up in those search engines in terms of like breadcrumbs, video previews, speaker previews, all of these kind of things. I go ahead and explain how I tested that using some of the tooling that's out there and the schema.org kind of schema and framework that is available for you. On Wednesday then, I went ahead and blog posted about my new open source project that I'm working on, all about cross-posting content. So I, of course, post my content on Hugo, on my cloudwithchris.com site, but I want to grow my audience. I want to grow my readership. So I'm also cross-posting to Dev2. I'm cross-posting to medium.com as well. And I have a .NET console app effectively to help me do that. Still a work in progress. It's still something that I'm focusing on, but actually getting quite a bit of traction. And I plan to make that a GitHub action, probably using a Docker image there as well. And the intent is that I want that to be part of my GitHub action workflow. So it's just a seamless part of my production deployment then as well. So still a few bits and pieces I'm working on there to get to that stage, but looking very positive there. Also on Wednesday, released the latest session number 4 of Cloud Gaming Notes. So this was with my good friend Dominic Williamson, and I'm really glad we had the chance to catch up. We were talking all about a game that he's been building called Sudoku Social. If you're into Sudoku, it's definitely one you want to check out, either on the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. Currently in beta on both of those stores, but you are able to go ahead to sudoku.social and sign up to that early, to the beta. Really pleased for him on the journey he's been on. We started talking about that, I think, a couple of years ago, and it's great to see that he's released that. Really, what a great job he's done with it as well. And it's just fascinating to hear about how he's gone ahead, built that service, built that platform, and just some of his thoughts around I guess offshoring some of the responsibility and some of the areas of focus so he can focus on the areas that he wants to. So fascinating listen there. Go ahead and listen in on that one or view that one. I think it is a really worthwhile one there. And then another great session, a cloud drop. It's been a while since we released a cloud drop, and I'm very grateful for Carol DeWinter joining me to record that one. It was the first cloud drop with a guest, so feedback always appreciated because, you know, that was something new trying out there. But I think it went really well. I really enjoyed it. This one was all about a beginner's guide to PowerShell in Azure Functions. So great session, taking us from zero to hero with PowerShell in Azure Functions and how it works and some of the considerations there. And then finally, yes, it was a super busy week because on Friday then had a session all about GitHub Actions and Azure and using environments with GitHub Actions then as well. So that was another update there. So next up then, we'll be talking all about what's coming up in terms of talks, because there's quite a bit coming up in talks this week. In talks last week, I don't think we had any. It was actually a quiet week from that perspective. But this week on Tuesday, I will be presenting at Azure in a Nutshell for devreal.io. And what we're going to be talking about there is the Azure Fundamentals. So I'll be talking about some of the cloud concepts, I guess. So think about what is cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud, public cloud, IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, and then Azure regions, availability zones, resource manager, and some of those fundamental concepts is what I'll be covering. And then there's a series of other folks that will take you through effectively what is that journey of the Azure Fundamentals exam preparation and that syllabus. That is really what we're trying to target with that one. So come ahead and join us on that session on Tuesday if you're interested in the Azure Fundamentals. And then on Thursday, I have 3 different sessions coming out which have been pre-recorded as part of the Cloud Lunch and Learn Marathon. I think the folks have done a great job. Herding cats is probably the way to explain that one. But a great job there in just pulling all of that together. I'm looking forward to seeing that event going live. So I've got 3 sessions going up there. Requirements, design patterns, cloud architecture, oh my. We've got how GitHub Actions can help in building and deploying a static website and more. And then we've got the other one which focuses more on using Hugo to build and deploy a static website to Azure using things like Azure Storage and Azure CDN to build a cheap and performant site in Azure as well. So not only that, then what's coming up this week in terms of episodes. So of course you're listening to this vlog, that is today. In terms of blogs, tomorrow we have coming out a blog post all about pipelines as code. So that was with thanks to the Grey Cat for tweeting me last week asking for some thoughts about resources with pipelines as code. That prompted me to release that one, so that's coming out tomorrow. On Tuesday, I'll also be releasing another cloud drop on the same topic. So pipelines as code, enjoyed making that one, managed to condense that one quite nicely. So that'll be coming out on Tuesday. Wednesday then, I'm hoping to write a blog post all around event grid and event-driven architectures and serverless. I haven't quite written it yet, so hopefully I get a chance to write that one. But that is also what I want to record my next cloud drop on as well, and I think that one will probably be released on Saturday if all goes well, but have got a few things going on this week, so may not get that one out, but we'll see. That's my hope and that's my plan. And then on Friday, we've got a brilliant session coming out with Jamie Mcguire. He talks all about the tool that he made, Social Opinion, where you can go ahead and have social media marketing campaigns and just understand your Twitter following. Being able to go ahead, for example, and schedule tweets, understand your followers when they're online, the types of things they talk about. And what I love about this session is not only do we hear the journey that Jamie's been through, we get to hear also some of the theory behind it, how he came from his master's background and the data science and machine learning kind of theory, and that journey that he went to go and make that into a service. And I think a lot of people always think about this end goal, but what I love is the realism that Jamie brought to the discussion and the reality about, there are certain architectural decisions he made. He knows that maybe he could have made some other decisions along the way, but it fit the purpose, it met the requirements, it got the job done, and ultimately it works. And until there's a need to re-architect, why does he need to do that if there's not a compelling reason to? So love that discussion with Jamie. Go ahead and check that one out on Friday. That one will be coming out. And I think that's it for this week. There may also be a live stream coming out on Friday or Saturday to do with mental health. That is something I am organising and trying to coordinate as well. I am doing a bit of travel this week, so I just need to try and figure out some logistics around that and do some testing. But all being well, that is the plan. So that is it in terms of the updates this week. So with that, let's go ahead, move back to the wrap up and just close out here. So back to the other screen. So there we go, folks. That was not as much content this week, but we still managed to pack up a fair bit of time there. So you know what to do if these updates are helpful. Please like, please subscribe, and please hit that notification bell so you know as soon as there's new content. Of course, I'm not just available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and cloudwithchris.com, where you can, of course, go and listen to the content as well as reading the transcript in real time as well. And as always, feedback is always appreciated, and please make it tangible rather than giving that, generic feedback that isn't very actionable. I'd love to know where I can keep improving. So if there are specifics, please call them out because I want to keep improving the content here. So with that, thank you so much for tuning in. Always on the hunt for guests and more folks to join in. You know where that is, sessionize.com. And if you are lost, cloudwithchris.com, you can find the details on there at the Get Involved section as well. So stay safe, stay healthy, have a great week ahead, folks. And until next week's weekly vlog, thank you for tuning in. Bye for now.